Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and we welcome back a good friend.
Indeed. Chris Benge, the Chief of Staff to the Governor and the Director of Collaboration with the Native American Tribes for the state of Oklahoma, is going to be our guest today. I saw Chris at a different function recently and said, by gosh, it's been a long time since you've been on. We need to get you back on. And he very easily said yes, so I jumped right on that. It took it when I had it.
Yeah, and Chris has been involved in so many economic development success stories here over the last few years. We're going to get an update on that, the economy of Oklahoma, and the governor's staff as Governor Fallin serves out her final months in office. Chris Benge, today's guest on The Verdict.
Until you read a book on America's colonial history, like Guardians of the Valley, most people have no idea of the Chickasaws' role. We served as protectors of the British settlers and trade goods in Georgia and Carolina. From the early 18th century until the Revolutionary War, Chickasaw warriors served as frontier guardsmen, controlling countless threats along the southern border. These colonies were our direct link to the British arms and supplies that kept us successful. Arriving at the port of Charleston, munitions came by horseback to our villages in the Mississippi homelands. Historians write that the Chickasaws were one of the more powerful southeastern Indian nations. That makes me very proud, recounting our role as peacekeepers in colonial Georgia and South Carolina. Chickasaw history is world history in the America we share today.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Well, as I indicated on our opening segment, we're really pleased to have Chris Benge join us now for his third appearance on The Verdict. Chris currently is the Chief of Staff to Governor Fallin, and he's also the Secretary of Native American Affairs in Governor Fallin's cabinet. He did his undergraduate work at Oklahoma State University, served in the Oklahoma House of Representatives from 1998 to 2010. He served as Speaker of the House for 3 years while serving in the legislature. In 2013, he was appointed to be Secretary of State and had his liaison duties with the tribes established about that time. In 2016, he became Chief of Staff to Governor Mary Fallin and has served in that capacity since 2016. He is, of course, a native Tulsan, as you Tulsans know, I'm sure, and he is a member of the Cherokee tribe. Chris, welcome back. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here with you all.
Well, you all have been busy.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell us what's on your mind these days right now. What projects are you working on?
Well, one, when if you're around the Capitol, you notice the construction that's going on. The Capitol's being restored, the 101-year-old Capitol now, and it's been an exciting time. I mean, this has been something we've been discussing for a long time to restore our Capitol and our seat of democracy, and we're excited about the developments. And you see something new, it seems like unveiled just about weekly now. So it's really neat. I think it represents figuratively, symbolically, our being ready to serve the people for the next century, and that's just exciting to be part of. Beyond, and we feel it every day. It's we have to kiddingly, when we have meetings with folks, one, we always make them aware that they may hear some noise, jackhammering or construction noise, and inevitably you hear something that will kind of interrupt a meeting. But you know, it's a sound of progress. So that's going on. That's exciting. We're focused on transition. Governor thinking more about transitioning out. She is very focused on criminal justice issues still, and trying to keep that momentum and keep that conversation going. She's been on the forefront of trying to change the way Oklahoma looks at how it incarcerates people. She's very focused on workforce, her Oklahoma Works program that she has talked about for the last several years, and trying to realign or trying to fill that, address, I guess, the skills gap that we hear business talk about throughout the state. Focused on medical school funding. We've had some challenges with our medical schools and some loss of federal funds last year that has kind of caused us to have to step in as a state and try to shore those things up. And business recruitment and job recruitment. Governor is still active where she can be on that front, and she has Commerce very aggressively trying to attract business to the state of Oklahoma, trying to help existing businesses in the state expand. And Governor is always looking to entertain either at the mansion or travel wherever she needs to go to try to attract business for the state. So she's very busy herself, and our office is still very busy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you guys have slowed down much, even though it doesn't. You can look at the calendar and say you only have several months left.
Right.
You're not going to go out limping. You're going to go out running, it sounds like.
I would have characterized it that way. Yeah, thank you for saying that. We
hope made that up.
We hope people recognize that, because we don't. We want a governor wants to finish strong, and she, and you know, and including in that, I think, and this may be kind of, I don't know, probably no one would notice, but we want a smooth transition. You know, we adopt and celebrate the transition of power in Oklahoma just like we have in the United States. It sets us apart, I think, and we want to be able to leave the place better than we found it, you know, in all different ways. And so we're focused on that as well. And once the new administration is identified November 6th, I expect that our busyness will ramp up even more November 7th, because we're going to be dealing with the new administration and try to help them get started off on a good foot.
Let's talk about the economic development aspect of it. What does Oklahoma have to sell right now when national opportunities come or people are looking to grow? What are you out there pushing?
Gosh, you know, good quality of life, lower cost of living than other peer cities, peer states, of course. Momentum. I think the personal touch when it comes to the business and government relationship. Mayor, I mean, I've seen you do this a lot. Governor Fallin practices this. When we talk to business outside the state, they get to talk to our leaders, you know, directly. And I used to work with the Tulsa Chamber, and you can't explain how valuable that is. It really is valuable for these businesses, and they comment on it. The out-of-state businesses say, you know, we don't get this kind of attention and audience when we deal with other states. And I think that sets Oklahoma apart. I mentioned the momentum, and I could go into a laundry list of things that represent that. I give a lot of credit to the Thunder being in Oklahoma, and Mayor, you and I worked on that back when I was in the legislature. I was Speaker of the House to recruit the Thunder, bring them here. I think they have added an additional brand to the state now. We have a true international brand that we didn't have a decade ago. I think our commitment to workforce, Governor, as I mentioned earlier, is on the cutting edge of talking about workforce changes. I think that appeals to the when we're out trying to recruit business. They know that we're focused on that, and we don't. And I say all that; those are all positives. We don't try to hide our challenges. We talk about them, and we acknowledge them, and we focus on them. And I think that means a lot to potential businesses that are looking to come to Oklahoma. But that quality of life thing to me is a real big one. And I'm a native Oklahoman. I've lived here for all my 56 years, and I probably am a little biased in that regard in some way, but I think it's a real deal too.
Well, I know that you personally and the governor's office has been very active and helpful to the Department of Human Services and the children of Oklahoma. There's some 8,000 kids that are in care under DHS supervision. I continue to be delighted at the assistance and support and interest that the governor's office shows in DHS's performance of the Pinnacle Plan and carrying out some reforms that were very helpful and are being very helpful to the kids. And I think that's something that would be under the radar for most folks, but your office has been a real leader in helping DHS deal with the legislature and funding for those problems.
Well, it's one of those challenges that we've acknowledged, and we said, you know, we have to do better in the area of child welfare. Six years ago when the agreement was hatched, and we've stayed committed to it. We've poured, I think by last count, about $170 million, new dollars into the child welfare system, if you will.
Yeah, when other agencies were hurting.
We're hurting, exactly. And we've aggressively, the governor's very aggressively tried to recruit foster care, foster families. And so it's just been a real focus. And you know, we want to do better. And I think the system has improved by virtue of the commitment and the focus.
I completely agree. And I hope that commitment will be assumed by whomever it is assumes the governor's office. I hope that will continue.
Believe me, it'll be one of our transitional items that we talk about with the new administration. Yes.
You mentioned earlier the skills gap. Can you kind of explain that for people who might not know exactly what you're talking about there?
So and I don't have the numbers just in my memory, but by 2025, you're going to need many more of our students and many more of our students coming out of high school are going to need more than a high school education. It's kind of boils down to that simple bullet point. But beyond that, you see that it's kind of becoming more of a technically focused economy. So a lot of our technical skills, the market is telling us that our students are going to need a lot more technical skills. So a lot of areas like information technology, for example, coding is going to be a big thing in the future, and that's something that a few years ago, I don't think we were quite ready for. But acknowledging what the horizon or beyond the horizon is going to look like has us all talking about and trying to align our education system so that we can be more prepared for that. I think you're going to see a lot. For example, I think you're going to see a lot of the future employees that maybe have less than a college degree, but they have something that looks different. It may be a certificate of some kind that is it could be a 4-week certificate or 12-week or something, whatever the skills demand, and that's what you're going to see a lot of our education institutions begin to adjust to, and it's going to require flexibility. And it's going to require real-time reaction by the government, and I think that's where it's going to be challenging because government, by nature, doesn't typically move very quickly.
Chris Benge is Chief of Staff to Governor Mary Fallin. More with Chris on The Verdict right after this.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
guest is Chris Benge, Chief of Staff to Governor Mary Fallin.
Chris, let's focus on what's had the attention of state government and the people of the state of Oklahoma for the past several years, and that's been a struggle with financing of state government. Things seem to be turning up. It looks like the plate you're going to leave for the new administration is going to be considerably better stocked than what you may have had to deal with. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think the net position of the state has dramatically improved over the last few years. And to add a little background to that, since the Great Recession of 2008, state government finances we've struggled to find an area of stability. I mean, it's been stagnant at best at times. We had a little bit of growth, I think, around 2013 and 2014. And that had a lot of factors attributed to that. But I pin a lot of it on the Great Recession, so-called, and how it affected our revenues at the state. But much better position. Most recently, last week, Moody's, for example, announced that they were upgrading Oklahoma's bond ratings. That's a recognition. That's the recognition we seek, because the financial markets, noting that the state of Oklahoma is improved financially, not only with state revenues, but they comment on the economy improving, and that broadcasts to the country and really broadcasts internationally that the state's doing well. So when Governor Fallin leaves in January, we'll have over $450 million in the rainy day fund, and as she has said many times over the past few years, when she walked into office, there was $2.03 left, and she always had as her goal to try to at least double that to $4.06. But now it's and I haven't done the math yet. I need to do the math so I get the percentages on what 457 million would be. But needless to say, it's a dramatic improvement. I believe I will be surprised if come December, when the first look at the next session and what the legislature will have to appropriate. I expect a very solid report then of probably, I will be surprised if we don't have several $100 million of growth revenue, if you will, to appropriate. And so things are really looking good and financially with state government. And of course our economy as well is really seems to be doing well, low unemployment, and a lot of interest in the state, just a lot of interest. Commerce continually reports to the governor of the numbers of just not necessarily having to do the cold calls that we have typically had to do as a state. We have people who are contacting the state and saying, what's going on in Oklahoma? We'd be interested in coming and looking at the state.
You spent a lot of your time on Native American issues. Talk about some of those successes over the last few years.
So we started when the governor gave me the position of Secretary of Native American Affairs in February of 2015. I started off with a really simple message, and that's respect and collaboration. So we basically, as we went out and introduced ourselves as the team on behalf of the governor, we wanted to show respect to the tribes and their heritage and their culture. We also wanted to look for opportunities where the state and the tribes could work together. And we have identified areas that we can truly work together. Healthcare, for example. As I get out and about, I find that, healthcare affects all of us. It's obviously a universal issue. I find also that tribal health and rural health are really kind of one and the same. They're struggling to get these healthcare access out in rural Oklahoma. Education. All of us want good education for our kids, and the tribes have really impressed me with their investment in education programs, and not only their language immersion, which they're very interested in, but just providing opportunities, higher ed scholarships, for example, for Native American children. And our universities have strengthened relationships with tribes and doing programming together. Economic development, there was a big announcement a few years ago with the Cherokee Nation and the state of Oklahoma and the city of Tulsa and others worked to bring Macy's Logistics Center to the Tulsa area. Over 2,000 jobs, and the Cherokee Nation was a financial partner in that. They committed, I want to say, over $500,000 to provide for employee training so that the employees can get the kind of training they need to be successful. And there are others with the Choctaw Nation and Chickasaw Nation. The Native American Cultural Center in Oklahoma City, that's been a strengthened partnership between the Chickasaws and the state and the city of Oklahoma City. And the Point Vista down on Lake Texoma, another partnership with the Chickasaws. If I sat down and listed it, I could name several. But part of it is getting out there and showing that you intentionally want to work together, and sitting in the room and saying, what are our challenges? Let's identify our challenges. Some things that are, of course, the tribes in the state have had some negative history over the years. Some of those things you have to either just kind of set aside, as far as not ignore, but I mean you have to kind of set aside and deal with those as you can. But part of that has been just listening to the tribes, and when they want to talk about maybe some of the mistreatment or unfair treatment, or what I hear is, we would like to be on the front end of discussions. The tribes tell me that continually. They said, we would like to be on the front end. An example of that recently is the governor and Chief Baker 2 weeks ago announced a coordinating council to look at poultry growth in northeastern Oklahoma. Well, the Cherokee and the state of Oklahoma are going to co-chair that council. And that's an example of saying, we're going to go to the Cherokees, we want you to be on the front end of this conversation. I think all those things lead to more positive momentum between all sides.
I noticed on your resume it's something that I didn't quite understand, so I wanted to ask you about it. It's the F-35 task force. What is that?
So the F-35 is the military's next generation of warfighter aircraft, and it's going to be deployed over the next several years, next probably decade or so. It's already been deployed in certain areas. We were interested as a state to try to attract the F-35 to the Tulsa National Guard base. So the governor created the task force and worked with military officials and our congressional delegation to try to recruit a first deployment of those aircraft. The first round we missed out on that deployment. I think those planes were deployed in 3 other bases around the country, but there will be a round 2 and a round 3. So the task force still exists. We haven't been as active meeting the last year as we were, but we're seeing things happen from that to position ourselves in the future. For example, the Tulsa community with the vision plan investment set aside some money to invest in infrastructure out at the base, a fuel depot, for example, and some other improvements. I'm told around $50 million worth. Well, those kind of things will position us better for the next round to try to attract the F-35. And those are, some people might ask, well, why would you want to do that? I think as a state, we have military bases around our state. We are very committed, I think proud of our commitment to national security by housing bases here in Oklahoma, number one. And number two, there's a big economic driver behind that. Tinker Air Force Base is tremendous economic effect on not only the Oklahoma City region, but the whole state. And so it's a commitment to national security and a real economic driver that make it very positive.
Well, it would keep us on the forefront of aviation. We have a big footprint in aviation already, do we not? We
do, and growing, and the kind of the new frontier on that is unmanned aerial systems. Governor announced a few weeks ago a new company that's coming to Oklahoma to expand its manufacturing of unmanned aerial aircraft. Choctaw Nation, by the way, also is involved in unmanned aerial. So you kind of see this growth in aerospace, as you mentioned.
We're going to have to make that the final word. Thanks for coming on.
You betcha. All right. Thank you for having me.
Well, come back again.
Love to.
Kent and I'll have a final word after this.
Big Tobacco lied for decades about the adverse health effects of smoking. Legally, here's what tobacco companies are forced to say now. Here's what they're really saying. Get the truth behind the lies at StopsWithMe.com, a program of TSET.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, Each child deserves all the quality, assistance, and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We are a very conservative family, and we believe in old-fashioned family values. We have a loving home there, and we love kids, and we have 5, 6 of our own. But I had no idea we were going to go into adoption, but it's been very gratifying.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. We are wrapping up a show with Chris Benge, the Chief of Staff for Governor Mary Fallin.
Yeah, Chris is awfully kind to give us his time and talk about what's going on in the governor's office and what's going on in his realm of Native American affairs. It looks to me like the existing administration is making great preparations to receive a new administration.
And revenue is up, and it's no matter what your opinions are of Republicans and Democrats, when revenue's up, government seems to do better.
Well, it seems to be run a little more smoothly, doesn't it?
Certainly, there are money to invest in programs. All right, Chris Benge has done a really good job, and we appreciate him coming on The Verdict today. Also want to draw attention to the website where you can get more information about the state of Oklahoma at ok.gov. And we have a website, theverdict.tv. You can log on to our website and talk to us about a guest you'd like to see on a future edition of the show or a topic you'd like to see us discuss, and we'll try to get to it. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week right here on another episode of The Verdict.